They say the dead never speak, but what if one did? Deep within the sands of Egypt, a tomb was sealed 3,000 years ago, a silence unbroken since the day it was buried. But legends whisper that some voices never fade. They wait, trapped between life and death, for someone foolish enough to listen. This is the story of the mummy that spoke, the voice that crossed 3 millennia and reminded the living that death was never silent. Our story begins not in a lab, but in the desert sands of Thebes, Egypt, 1829. A group of explorers uncovered a sealed tomb, untouched since the reign of Ramses XI, around 1100 BC. Inside was a perfectly preserved mummy, identified by inscriptions as Nasiamin, the true of voice. Nasiamin wasn't a king or warrior. He was a priest, a man who sang rituals in the temple of Karnak, calling upon the gods to give life, death, and judgment. His title, the true of voice, meant more than honesty. It meant his words had power. Ancient Egyptians believed that when the soul entered the afterlife, it had to speak the negative confession, 42 statements declaring innocence before the gods. Without a voice, the soul would be trapped forever, unable to reach paradise. So when Nasiamin was found, with his tongue and vocal cords unusually well preserved, archaeologists noted something strange, as if he had been waiting to speak. Fast forward nearly 2 centuries later. In 2020, scientists from the University of York and Leeds Museum began an experiment unlike any other. Their goal: to recreate the voice of a man dead for over 3,000 years. They used a CT scanner to map every detail of Nasiamin's throat, mouth, and vocal cords, then built an exact 3D replica using advanced printing technology. Finally, they passed air through the artificial vocal tract, and the mummy made a sound. It wasn't a word, more like a low, haunting ah, but that single tone carried the shape of his voice, preserved for eternity. For a brief moment, Nasiamin, the man who once sang to the gods, was alive again. News spread worldwide. Headlines called it the voice of the mummy, but not everyone celebrated. Some Egyptians and historians called it blasphemy, claiming the scientists had disturbed the eternal silence of the dead. A Cairo historian said, "The ancient priests believed their words connected to the gods. To force their voice from the grave is to awaken what should never wake." At first, no one took it seriously, until strange things began happening inside the museum. According to reports, motion sensors in the mummy's exhibit began triggering at night. Even when no one was inside, guards heard faint humming, like a chant, coming from the display. At 3:12 a.m. one morning, a security camera captured something eerie. The mummy's jaw, immobile for millennia, appeared to move slightly. The footage was quietly removed from public record. But one employee claimed the sound that followed was not the recorded tone scientists made. It was a whisper. The scientists themselves faced unusual experiences. Dr. Andrew Nelson, one of the project leads, reported vivid dreams, seeing a dark chamber filled with sand and voices calling his name. When asked if he regretted the experiment, he said only one thing: he wasn't trying to speak, he was trying to finish something. So who exactly was Nasiamin? Ancient records describe him as a prophet of Ammonius, the hidden god, a deity said to dwell between the worlds of life and death. In the last years of Egypt's empire, when faith was crumbling, Nasiamin performed rituals to preserve divine order. His final inscription reads, "May my name be spoken for eternity, so that I may live again." Some believe that's exactly what happened, that through technology, the scientists had unknowingly fulfilled his wish, and in doing so opened the door for his spirit to return. 3 weeks after the experiment, the lab where the 3D voice model was stored suffered a power surge. Backup systems failed, and the digital files of Nasiamin's voice, all of them, were erased. When technicians restored the servers, they found a single corrupted audio clip. It lasted 3 seconds. When played, it wasn't the same sound. It was something else. A distorted voice whispering what sounded like ancient Egyptian words, though no linguist could identify them. One expert said it resembled the phrase, "The mouth of truth is open." After that, the project was quietly shut down. The 3D model was sealed away, The scientists refused interviews. But one leaked email from a technician read, "We shouldn't have tried to make him speak. He wasn't silent. He was waiting." Today, the mummy of Nasiman rests again in Leeds City Museum, behind glass. But some visitors say his presence feels alive. They describe a strange pressure in the air, a hum, like the resonance of a deep note. And sometimes, when the lights flicker, they swear they hear something, not loud, but close, like a sigh or a prayer. So what really happened? Was it science? Or something far older? Some believe it was pure coincidence, the natural decay of ancient tissue and modern technology creating illusion. But others think the ancient priests of Ammonius truly knew the secrets of voice and spirit, that their words, once spoken in sacred temples, could bridge the worlds. And maybe, just maybe, Nasiman's voice wasn't revived by human hands, but by the gods he served. Because in Egyptian belief, to speak a name is to give it life. And when the world spoke his name again, Nasiman, his soul heard it and answered. Even now, museum staff say that during the quietest hours, when the halls are empty, the air near his display feels warmer, like breath on glass. They say the sensors still trigger sometimes, always at the same hour, 3:12 a.m. Maybe it's just old equipment, or maybe 3,000 years later, the priest still sings to his gods, still waiting for judgment, still true of voice. If you believe the dead can never speak, think again. Because sometimes history doesn't whisper, it answers. Like, share and subscribe to Chrono Enigma, where every story uncovers the voice of a forgotten truth.